I do believe we had the kitty ears. Lights be a changin'. Lights be a changin'. All right, folks. I'm Carrie. This is Student Loan Chit-Chat. I would like to thank you for joining me for tonight's Tuesday night bedtime story with your tea. For those of you who like to drink your tea, sometimes I'm drinking tea with you, okay? But sometimes I'm just having a protein yogurt drink, all right? So grab your tea. Let's go ahead and start this off. When are you going to stop this foolishness? And this ran earlier today on the Dave Ramsey Show, all right? Let's go and hit it. I'm so glad you guys are here with me. Let's do it.
Brought to you by the EveryDollar app. Start budgeting for free today. Karen is with us in Jacksonville,
Hello,
Florida.
Karen.
Hi, Karen. How are you?
Hi, Dave.
Oh, she's 3 hours from me because I'm in Tampa.
Hey, what's up?
I'm doing well. It's an honor to speak to you.
You too. How can we help?
Okay, you know, when these people say we're doing well, it's kind of like the roller coaster ride. We're all holding on because somebody go, oh, I'm doing really well, and I have $400,000 in Parent Plus loans.
Well, my husband and I have actually gone through Financial Peace University, and we're doing really well. We, as of 2022, we were, had a fully funded business safeguard account. We had our emergency fund funded. We had no debt other than our house. And at that time, my husband got a not so good medical diagnosis. So that set us back that year. And then ultimately he decided to make a step into a profession that he wanted to be in. And that essentially cut our income almost in half for now.
Okay. So they went to Financial Peace University, FPU. That's the Dave Ramsey. I think it gets held in churches and other places. May not just be held in churches, but, you know, for those who are going through the Dave Ramsey financial program, I could have probably used that in my 20s. At 56, it's a little late for that now. Okay. But I definitely could have used that. Husband had an unfortunate medical diagnosis. Okay. So we will not obviously be critiquing that part, okay? But then I guess the medical diagnosis after hopefully it was cured, hopefully, okay? He goes on to take another job, and that job payment cuts in half. Now then, here's what the question becomes. Did he have to have that payment? And it sounded like they were doing really well. FPU, Financial Peace University, was paying off, okay? And of course, we all know that a medical diagnosis could happen to any of us. You know, I remember being a kid, my grandmother used to say, thank God for good health. And I'd be like, yeah. Okay. Can you get me a real present? Okay. Now I understand. Oh, do I ever understand what she means now? And I swear, I'm like, thank you, Grandma. I get it. I know exactly what you mean. Okay. But hopefully his medical diagnosis is now solved or it's well under control. Okay, so we're going to put that aside, all right? So we're just going to look about the financial end because I don't really like to go over people's medical issues, okay? So put the medical issues aside. Let's look at the finances. My question would be, when they had the income cut in half, was that a necessity, like we had to do it, or was it a want? And if it was a want, were they truly both in it together and said, hey, yes, we're going to go ahead and cut this income in half? In other words, was income cut in half because he absolutely had to do it for survival or whatever? Or was it cut in half more on a, hey, you know what? I found a new religion and I found God and this is my new direction in life. I hate to say, but to kind of like damn with the rest of the finances and the plan we've been on. This can go two ways. So let us see which way it should go.
So he's doing much better with that and moving forward, progressing forward. But my question is, as a result of those two things, we had to, tap into those safeguard accounts and pretty much depleted most of them. And now
the medical, I can understand depleting it for the medical. I totally get that. What I want to know is how much of it was depleted so he could cut his income in half if this was a totally voluntary cut down just because he wanted to. In other words, he could have kept the job, he could have kept making more money, and he just chose to cut it in half.
Got some credit card debt. We have some stock that is not in any kind of retirement account. So my question to you is, do I sell that stock and pay that little bit of credit card debt that we do have now, or should I let that stock sit and just continue to not accumulate any more credit card debt, but, just make payments on that?
Okay, I don't know anything really about the stock market, I admit, okay? But I'm the type, if it isn't worth that much and you can get yourself back to zero, I'd sell it. Again, I don't know anything about stocks. Don't follow what I say.
Well, what happens next time?
What happens next time?
Next
What do
time
you
there's a
mean?
bump in the road and you land on a dadgum credit card again.
Okay, so here's my thinking. Mr. Ramsey, don't sound happy. Here's what I'm thinking. Off of what she's saying, it sounds as though the medical problem was solved. Okay, because I think if Dave really felt that this was a medical problem wasn't solved, I think he'd be a little kinder, little more sensitive, perhaps. Okay, because she did say part of it was done because of the medical. That's fine, but I would like to know how much of it was of the medical. Okay, but the fact that they are going back, I think what's frustrating him from his tone is it was right back to the credit cards again. So what he's saying is, well, if you have another, like you said, a bump in the road, what are you going to do? And I will say, if you do sell your stock, well, you're not going to have stock anymore. And then how are you going to handle the next emergency? In other words, my thinking is when there's a financial emergency, as much as we can, we can't prepare for everything. I think we all know that. Okay. But as much as I can, I don't want to have to give up stuff and keep selling stuff to try to pay off the debt. We've seen that in some student loan videos, okay, where the young student is trying to sell off all the dresses. What do you do when all the dresses are sold off? What do you do when the car's sold off? What do you do when you've already got 2-3 roommates?
When are you going to stop this foolishness?
Well, we were able to do quite well for a while, and
yeah, until you didn't.
Ooh, he's sounding harsh. A little harsher than normal. Remember, this ran earlier today. I would like it, like I said, I would like him to ask, hope he does, how much did they have saved? How much was spent on medical? And did they have their income voluntarily withdrawn? Like the husband just said, I just don't feel like working that much anymore.
Until you start living on credit cards again.
Well, we didn't really live on them.
Yeah, you did. You bought crap you couldn't afford to buy.
Well, it was more monthly things that we already had an obligation for because we weren't meeting our monthly budget.
Okay.
My first instinct is cut that monthly budget down as far as you can. Cut. If you don't have to be paid, get rid of it. I have very, very few monthly bills. Very few. I think my biggest monthly bill is my HOA. That runs around $450. And my HOA is very reasonable because we are partially funded. I won't say we're fully funded, but we are definitely partially funded. We have the new roof on, $2 million renovation project in the last 3 years. Last 3 years, we've done a lot. So I'm surprised it's only $455, but it is. And then really from there, it drops all the way down to basically electric. They need to cut down as much as they possibly can.
So when you use the stock to pay off the credit cards, and the next time you go on one of these adventures where you don't meet the monthly obligations and you lean on credit cards, what are you going to do then?
And that's exactly what I said. If they sell the stock, okay? And I did say initially, sell the stock. And if you can, without it really... I think selling the stock to pay off your debt and clear it out, it's gone for forever is one thing. Selling your stock or other, tangible, non-tangible goods, selling stuff because you don't have a way to pay for things is different. I hope that makes sense. Okay. I want to clear a bill. I can get that bill totally cleared. That bill will never come back. Going to clear my student loan bill because I'm going to sell my stock. That student loan bill will never return. But to sell that same stock, I'm just pretending here because I don't know anything about stocks. All right. But to sell that same stock because I have an emergency and I don't have enough funded for that emergency is different. Because what Dave is saying is, well, what are you going to do when you have the next emergency? You don't have that stock. There are plenty of people right now that are cashing out their retirement. Why? Because the cost of living is so dang high. It's a combination. It's a combination of the cost of living is high between the cost of food, the cost of rent, okay, the cost of home insurance policies, all of that. So between the cost of living and also people just somewhat refusing to downsize their lifestyle, just refusing to do it. Okay, people are cashing out their retirement in record numbers. Look that up if you don't believe me, okay? In record numbers, people are cashing out retirement. And then the thought becomes, well, what are they going to do when all their retirement is spent? I know someone who's living literally off their retirement and they're only in their 40s. And they are cashing out their retirement right and left. But they refuse to downsize. What are they going to do when their retirement's gone? That's what he's asking. And that's a good point. But I would like to mention, I thought that one up first. So snaps for me.
Well, I would hope he wouldn't be back in this position.
I would hope you wouldn't have been here this time. I'm not going to give you permission to say what you did was okay. What you did was not okay. It was a really bad, dumb plan. And if you're going to use every time something comes along to get yourself back into credit card debt, I can't help you. Because you've used up your stock then. So if I tell you to cash out this stock and then you go do this again, you're screwed, girl.
Yeah, exactly. Now you're stuck only on the credit cards. I'll be honest. I think people have to live way lower. They have to live way more beneath their means than they think. Okay? I live way more beneath my means than I have to. I could cut my savings in half. Okay. Matter of fact, if I wanted to upgrade right now, I probably could. If I wanted to upgrade this condo, go, you know what? I could sell this condo outright, upgrade. Even if it was just another, $75,000. And I could pay it off pretty quickly. It would take maybe, a few years, but it wouldn't be no long, 10-year arduous march to get it paid off. But what I really find is people have to live way, way below their means. Where, if they had a $5,000 bill, could they pay that off, say, in 4 months? And I think, unfortunately, for some people, and again, we don't know how much they have. I wish Dave would ask these questions because I know he's upset. And I'm sure part of it is it makes him, with FPU, it makes FPU seem like, it's kind of like, why did she go through FPU if she isn't going to follow the steps? So I can kind of see his frustration. But at the same time, a lot of us, myself included, we don't sit on a whole big savings account, just a great big savings account. We don't sit on that. A lot of people don't have enough equity in a piece of property that might be paid off, that if they needed $20,000 real fast, they could get it for let's say a small interest loan and still be comfortable at paying it off. I think for many people, more than would like to admit, more than a few $100s, and it's running to the credit cards to pay it off. People have to live further beneath their means than they think. To the point that you almost think you're living too beneath your means, to be totally honest. We tend to think that, if you just save, a couple $100s a month, that's good. I think it needs to be more than that. I think this is just my observation with my finances. You need to get to the point where a double-digit percentage, you don't even blink an eye at it. You don't even blink an eye. Someone says, save 50% of your income. Okay, easy, can do that. Save 20%. Can you do that? Okay, sure. Can you save 25%? Yeah. I'm at the point where I save 30%, but I've only been debt-free since September. Okay? I've only been debt-free since September. I mean, totally debt-free. 110%, everything paid. Okay? But for me to get to that 30%, I've had to take my living down to the point, and it's true, down to the point where people think you have nothing. Okay? It's not that you don't have anything. Sure, you could spend it. Sure, I could take multiple plane trips a year. If I want to give up my savings account, if I want to give up, planning for retirement, if I want to give up any sort of emergency funding. So people have to go way below. And see, I feel like he's not asking the right questions. Yeah, he's upset, and I can see why he's a little, ticked off because, he creates this program. And this is a perfect example of a couple that went through it but didn't sustain it. I would like to know a bit more as to why they didn't sustain it. And to really understand that, we would need to understand the dollars behind what they had, how much was the medical, how much of a pay. They said he took a 50% pay cut. Okay, but a 50% pay cut, let's say on a person who makes $150,000 a year, drops them down to 75, respectively. That's different than a person who is making 80 and says, I want to take a pay cut, and drops down to 40, and that tanks the family's finances. There are too many variables that we need to know about.
You follow me?
Yeah, I guess this was kind of a one-time.
No, it's not.
Emergencies are never one time. She's fooling herself if she thinks an emergency is a one time. Okay? Emergency, unexpected cost, like a speeding ticket. I have to go to traffic school in a couple of weeks.
A one-time thing, though.
No, it's not. Always life's going to bring you something.
Have you ever gone through a phase in life where you just say, God, does it ever get easier? You know, where you just feel like you're going through one catastrophe after the other. This happens and this happens and this happens. And I remember at a really low point in my life, okay? A very low point, which seemed to last for years, and it did last for years. It wasn't a low point for just a few months or a few weeks. But I remember it was through my shopping addiction. And it just seemed like addictions bring on more problems, which bring on more problems, okay? But I remember just saying to myself, you know, I would say for about a decade's worth of time. That's a long time. Does anything good ever happen? Does it ever get better? You know, is it always going to be one problem after another? And these weren't teeny tiny little problems, you know, things that could be solved in just a few hours. These seem to be major problems. Job unemployment because of layoff. Another job unemployment because of layoff. You know, a checking account that has 25 cents in it because you're so broke. It just seemed like it never ended. But what I came to realize is I was spinning that Ferris wheel, and I kept spinning it faster and faster. But the problem is it was hitting me every time I spun it. You know, the seats on the Ferris wheel, they just kept hitting me because I couldn't find a way to stop the Ferris wheel from spinning. I couldn't find a way. But in the final analysis, you really do have more control of it than you think. I finally did stop it and things got better, but it took a really, really long time. And she's kidding herself if she thinks this is just going to be one bump in the road.
It's always going to be something coming up. Until you decide no matter what, let me tell you when the time is we're going to use a credit card at the Ramseys. Never. Under any circumstances.
He's also worth more than $200 million at this point. We have to keep that in mind. Now, not saying that that's an excuse. I'll be totally honest. With my debt history and stuff, I'll be totally honest. If I have to eat beans, rice, if I have to eat a hard-boiled egg and oatmeal, that's what I used to have for breakfast growing up. Because being adopted from Vietnam, we were so malnourished. My mother really made sure we had the nutrition we need. And, you know, nothing like a hard-boiled egg and a small thing of oatmeal, okay? The steps that I would take would be drastic to ever get back into credit card debt. I genuinely believe that credit card debt, I think even above the medical bills I've had to pay. And yeah, I've had a few medical bills along the way. Nothing overly drastic, but you know, I've probably spent about $7,000 in knees since 2018. KNEES, you know, my knee arthritis. I've spent a good $7,000 on that since 2018. 18, 19, 21, 2. Yeah, good thousand of, yeah, about 8,000. Because it's cost me my deductible. Okay. But even over paying those bills, the number one budget killer has been the credit card. The number one budget killer, the credit card debt. And people are like, how can the credit card debt be worse than a medical? Because see, a lot of us don't understand it. I like I said, you know, in the past, I used to work in insurance. Medical bills, while they can be stressful, can also be one of the easiest bills to deal with. Pay them something. Pay them something. It doesn't matter what, just pay them something. So long as you pay them something, it can keep you out of collections. Just pay something. It doesn't matter if it's $25 a month, $30 a month. Pay them something. They most likely will not report you to collections. Medical runs different than any other bill. Just call them and pay them something. It doesn't work like credit cards where, the minute you're late, it hits your record. It's when you totally ignore it, when you totally blow it off. That's what you don't want to do.
We'll sell everything in sight, including the dog and 3 of the grandkids. We will never again go into a credit card debt, ever, under any circumstances, period. Nothing will cause that to happen. We will be riding a bicycle instead of driving a car, but we won't have debt, ever. See, until you get there, kiddo, you're going to go back again.
I'll be honest. One of the things that I did, and I'm not embarrassed to say it, but one of the things that I did to get myself out of debt, guess what? Breakfast for dinner, folks. Breakfast for dinner. You don't have to have steak for dinner. Steak, I think, is sometimes overrated anyways. It's not actually my favorite food, okay? But breakfast for dinner. Some nights, it's just oatmeal. I did a lot of things to get to become debt-free, to pay this condo off by 2022, to pay it off in 2.5 years. I did a lot of things that some people have gone, geez, that's all you're going to have for dinner tonight? When I tell you, here's a great dinner. Take oatmeal, just regular oatmeal, half milk, half water, because I don't like my oatmeal in all milk. It makes it too thick. Half milk, half water, okay? Bring it to a boil. Mash in a banana, mash in some fresh blueberries, put in some cinnamon, and about maybe 2 or 3 egg whites, not the yolk, but egg whites. Okay. Mix that sucker all together. Mix it together after you've brought the oatmeal and stuff to a boil. Mix all that stuff together. Throw in a few nuts, throw in a few raisins. I am telling you, you will have a meal that will fill you up. Okay. Cheap. I got that off of weightlifting channel because you guys know, some of you know, I do weightlifting. It's amazing what you can do when you really have a financial goal. And even to this day, do you think I sit and eat a formal dinner every night? Now, it's different if you have kids. You can't send your kids to bed hungry, okay? But at the same time, there are ways to cook quick and inexpensive meals, even for kids. Yeah, I may not have kids, but I have enough students that tell me what they eat for dinner.
You're going to go back again. You're going to go back again because there's always something comes up because there's a crack. And as long as there's a crack in the thing, the water's going to leak through.
You have to change your mindset. Ramsey's absolutely right, okay? You have to change your mindset in how you're going to deal with financial emergencies. We so often, and I believe it's what keeps us out of debt. It certainly is what kept me in debt. We have a certain mindset and we default to that mindset. Okay, we default to the credit cards. We default to blaming someone else for our situation. Yeah. These are all defaults. We've done it for so long. I can honestly tell you, I'm embarrassed to say it wasn't until I got into my 50s and divorced that I even knew people could really become debt free. And again, we're not going to, bicker the fine points. There's really no such thing as, yes, there's debt freedom, but you still have your taxes and you have to pay your insurance. Okay. We're not talking those bills. Nobody lost sleep, at least for the most part that I know of, because they couldn't pay their, tax bill for the year. All right. But people sure do lose sleep over credit card debt. They sure do lose sleep over addiction. But until the person with the debt, could be you, until that mindset changes on how you respond. What is it? It's Pavlov's theory, you ring the bell. I hope this is Pavlov's. Pardon me if I'm wrong. Okay. This was an experiment done like in the 70s or something, maybe even longer than that. Okay. And they ring the bell. What does the dog do? The dog comes running every time the bell rings. I think that's Pavlov's theory. Correct. I apologize if I'm wrong. Okay. Every time you get into debt, what's your first gut instinct? What's your gut reaction? Run to the credit card. Every time you see a want, what's your gut reaction? Use the credit card. You have to change the way you react every time you hear that bell ring. When you hear that bell ring, you have to change. It takes a while to do it. It doesn't happen overnight. I am so used to now that, hey, you know what? If I want to tighten up my budget, it's breakfast for dinner. And even if you have kids, they can eat breakfast for dinner too. Pancakes make a great dinner. They really do. Make protein pancakes, something like that.
So, yes, you should cash out the stock and you should pay off the credit cards. But you have got to, the two of you have got to sit down and go, we flunked Financial Peace University. We flunked the class. So we have got to reset and draw a line in the sand and say, never, under any freaking circumstances, are we ever going to have a credit card in our house.
Again, I really wish Dave would have asked them for the dollars and the figures, because that, not that it would make a difference in him saying, you know, don't use credit cards, but it sure would help us to understand the situation that they were in, why they felt they had to go to the credit cards. And then Dave could have used this instead of just ranting about it. All right. Love you, Dave. But okay. Instead of just ranting about it, perhaps helping them see where the error was. And we haven't even touched on why his job is, why he chose to cut his job in half. That could have been a very wise thing. But I suspect it's probably more foolish than wise. That's just my suspicion. And the only reason I suspect that is she didn't sound thrilled about him cutting his job in half. And then the fact that they're in this financial pickle, he voluntarily, it appears, chose to cut his job in half. She doesn't sound happy about it. That tells me that that tells me they kind of taken their, we are on this perfect debt track, and threw it out the window and said, screw it, we're going to do it this way, even though it's now hurting them. I don't think the wife was fully on board with him cutting his budget in half. If the budget had been cut in half and it was planned and they knew it would be successful, they wouldn't be on this show a second time.
Cut it up, close the accounts, and then you won't have the opportunity to be blessed with the 22% APR from these credit card companies. That's the easiest way to do it, because then you're going to find another way when debt's not an option, when debt's off the table.
All right. Oh, let's just hear the last part. Hold on.
I got a friend that lost his career. He lost his family. He lost everything because of a drinking problem. He's now been dry for 30 years. You know when he's going to drink again? Never.
All right, folks. That's the end of this video. Okay. Let me check. All right. I'm going to get a clock here at some point so I can see a bigger clock. I need to put it up one of my monitors here. All right. We're running about 8:45. This is about half an hour in. I'm going to say, let's just go ahead and we're just going to jump right into the second story. For those of you that, I have to save it because, you know, I got to save it so I don't lose this. For those of you that need to hit the hay, I am so glad you joined us. Thank you for being here. I hope you will consider subscribing, and hopefully you'll listen to the second story tomorrow. Okay. But for those of us that would like to stick around, we want to stick around for another story all the way in the back. Yes. We're getting a yes on this. Okay. For those of us that want to stick around for second story, I got a little extra energy in me. As I said, you know, I can't promise I'll do 2 stories, you know, every night. It just really depends upon how I feel. But I say, let's go ahead. We're going to take a really short break here. Pause here if you wish. Refill your teacup. We're going to go on and take a second story. All right. I'm Carrie. This is Student Loan Chit-Chat. Thanks so much for joining me for story number 1. I'll be right back for story number 2. Pause here. Folks, it's pushing 9 o'clock. Let's go ahead and do story number 2. All right. Tenants completely trashed my house. This was from a year ago. So let's find out just what happened. And I'll also give you my ideas on being a landlord, especially after the pandemic and we had all that rent freezing moratorium stuff. Let's hit it.
Colt is in Montgomery, Alabama.
Hello,
Hi, Colt. How are you?
Colt.
I'm doing well, Dave. Thank you. How are you?
Better than I deserve. What's up?
Well, first I'll start out. I'm absolutely emotionally, mentally, in almost every way, fashion exhausted.
I bet bad tenants can do that to you.
Financially. I read your book in 2018 when I was on my last military deployment. I'm actually active military. I've been in 10 years now.
Thank you for your service.
That's mine. Thank you. I appreciate it. So, read your book, got motivated, started following your steps, paid off almost $40,000 in debt in just the first 9 months of being on your plan. Then in 2019, I thought, well, I'm in a better position. I'm going to buy a fixer-upper house. I can do all the work myself. I'm blue-collar, old farm boy. Thought I could take care of it. Well, 4 months later, military dropped me orders, and I'm stuck with this house, and I'm like, I can't really rent it out in this status. So I made the dumb decision and panicked and put a whole lot of work into the house on credit cards. And the last 2 years, I've just been treading water. The tenants that I had in it for 2 years trashed it. So all the work I put into it pretty much was just undone. And then I had thought really passively last summer about selling it because the market's hot. But then I thought, no, I'm still not ready to part with it. It's an investment. I'll get a roommate that's a best friend from another state, move him, and he was happy to move in. And then we walked in the door and went, oh my gosh, this house.
Okay, let's just stop. You know, you watch a lot of YouTube videos. Pardon me. You watch a lot of YouTube videos, and they make rental seem so easy, don't they? Just get a fixer-upper, fix it up yourself if you have the physical and technical know-how, or you know people who do it for pennies on the dollar. Fix it up yourself and just rent it out and you'll make all this money. Now let's put aside the fact that he's in the military and he perhaps should have considered more in advance about what happens if you get called out on deployment. But let's put that aside because that's his military service and I think we all get that, okay? But it is something I would have considered just before I, got a house with the intention of fixing it up. What happens if I get called out? Okay? But if you watch a lot of YouTube, hello, okay? If you watch a lot of YouTube, I want to first thank you for watching this channel, okay? But they always make it seem so easy. Your Grant Cardones, your Kevins, I watch a lot of YouTube, all right? They just make it seem like renting property is just so easy. I believe it's way, way more complicated. I believe it's way, way more technical than what people think. Folks, if something were truly, truly easy, okay? If something were really easy, we would all do it because it's easy. So what he did was he took a fixer-upper, fixed it all up, and somebody came in and trashed it. And I hate to tell you this. The reason I will never be a landlord, I will never, ever, ever be a landlord, is when I was an insurance claims adjuster and we had to look at property damage. Let me tell you, tenants do things that are so unexplainable. You're like, are you from another planet? I was in my 20s. I was an insurance claims adjuster in Oregon. And when I tell you, I saw, they take, if it's got metal or is resellable and is sitting behind drywall, they will strip the drywall to get it. If it's bolted to the ground and they can move it to the backyard, yeah, that toilet will be in the backyard. God knows why, but it will be. If they get pissed off at you because they think you've raised the rent too much, you won't let their, additional friends, family move in, whatever the beef is, they can destroy it. And when I say destroy, they can take everything you ever put into it and completely gut it. And unless you have the financial ability, the physical and wherewithal, the mental wherewithal to take them to court, to probably get a judgment that will never be paid out or won't be paid out for years. Because the type of people that would do that sort of damage, they don't care. Okay? Someone like me is not going to do that. I have too much writing on, I want to leave a place in really good shape. Every place that I've ever rented, I've rented apartments, has been left in such impeccable condition. You don't even need to, bring in a deep cleaner for the carpeting. So it's something to consider is don't get sucked into these videos that just make rental seem so easy. Oh, it's just so easy. I took $5,000, turned it into, a $50,000 piece of property, and then I turned that into a couple $100,000. Here I am basking in the pool today. It's never that simple. And it's sad when I see people get roped into that. And the other thing with rental property, because I've seen a ton of these videos, if you're having to go into debt to buy the property, you can't, sometimes you'll hear about, well, I own 3 pieces of property and I owe mortgages on all of them. But because supposedly I make more than what the mortgage is, I'm in a good financial state. To me, that's not. Okay, I understand that, for a lot of the wealthy, okay, it's debt that drives their profit. Yeah, I may owe 2 million, but I'm going to make 3 million. I don't want to owe 2 million to make the 3 million. Okay. So he got suckered into it. And that's really too bad.
So
No, I'm
today
sorry.
I'm
What's
staring
wrong with the
down-
house?
They
They probably stripped the heck out of it.
shower without a shower curtain. So the deal this week is the wall in the bathroom buckled inward. So I spent 2 weeks of PTO or leave. I completely gutted and raided the bathroom.
PTO, I think stands for personal time off in military talk. I'm not good with military terms. I think that's what it stands for.
Every blind in the house was gone, just the filth.
Yeah, you'd be surprised at the crap, literally the crap from dogs, animals. I had one friend, okay, she long moved years ago, probably 15 years ago. She had a damn bird. If that bird didn't just crap everywhere in the house. I remember thinking, holy cow, you just let this bird crap in your living room. It was a rental. She didn't care. Now, of course, people like me will think, well, you gotta live there, so why don't you care? Because their mindset is they literally don't care. They don't care if they live in filth. They don't care if they destroy a place. They just don't care. That's their mindset. You have to remember, it is the mindset of that tenant. My mindset is I don't care what it is. Okay. I take care of it. Yeah. I lease a car by choice. Okay. I lease a car and I take care of it as if I own the car. I don't take care of it because I lease the car. I have walk away wear and tear. Okay. So I'm good for a few thousand in damage for I even have to blink an eye. But I take care of my car. It doesn't matter if I lease it. It doesn't matter if I own it. I've done both. I take care of my vehicles. There are people, tenants. Oh, if you've ever seen the show on YouTube, it's if you just type in into YouTube, people being evicted. There are eviction courts. I guess they're allowed to film it. Okay, there are eviction processors. I guess it's legal because it's all over the internet. Look and see the filth that people live in. Just the utter filth. It will gross you out. I'm telling you, dogs, poo, birds, dirt, you name it.
This is the roommate?
No,
No,
this
no,
is the
not the
renters.
roommate. This was the tenant.
Oh, that's
These
when
are
you
the
discovered
renters.
the tenants. Okay, so then you panicked and you
Yeah.
went on credit cards and you built it back, right? So what kind of
Well,
condition is it in today?
It's in a position where it still needs paint. Kitchen's still a mess.
So everything that the tenants paid you in rent, you get to put back into the property trying to fix it up. This is the reason I will never, ever be a landlord. One, I don't want to deal with unnecessary confrontation. I just don't want to deal with confrontation. I absolutely do not. I don't do confrontation very well. I mean, if I have to, yeah, I trust me, I'm a weightlifter. I can confront, okay? But just because, if it's something I don't have to deal with, I'm not going to deal with it. I don't have to deal with tenants. And people say, oh, get a property management company. That doesn't solve the problem of bad renters. All the property management company is going to do is manage it. But the bill still gets handed to you. Something to consider. And I've had people tell me that my condo, the number of people have said to me, oh, don't ever sell your condo, just rent it. Why the hell would I want to rent and deal with stuff like this? Because this condo is paid off, and even if it weren't, it wouldn't matter. I still wouldn't rent it. But because the condo is paid off, I would just as soon just sell it, take my cash and go. There's no need for me to rent it out. None at all. I might consider holding it for a family member that I trusted that wanted to possibly live here. Maybe. Doubt it. Okay. I don't know too many family members that want to move to Tampa, Florida. Okay. I mean, but would I go the route of a rental to just Joe Blow public? No, absolutely not. And these aren't the things that they talk about in those videos that tell you, oh, just rent a piece of property. It'll be so easy.
But, I mean, it's livable.
Mm-hmm.
But
What do you
question is,
owe on it?
140.
And how much?
See, and I'm sorry to interrupt, Dave, but since I have control of the Red Thunder mic here, I'm gonna the Red Thunder remote. I'm gonna go ahead and interrupt you. Hey, you guys have ever seen my remote? Have I ever shown you guys my remote? Hold on here. Of course, everything lights up. I don't know if you can see it, but my remote lights up along with my kitty ears. Okay, this is, yeah, I know. I love my toys, folks. Tried to get myself the hell out of debt and get a big savings account going. I love my toys. Okay. Back on track. What the heck was I saying? Oh, sit, look at that, you guys. Now, you know, to love this channel, I do sometimes get off track. I was thinking about my remote. Oh, yes. He owes $100, but I do get back on track. The 140, 50, okay, approximately that he owes on this place. That's another issue I have. And again, there are people who are very comfortable being in debt. I'm the type, if I am going to rent a place, if I were going to rent, I would rent this place because it's paid off. But what people have to be so careful about is like a place like this. I spent $15,000 from ceiling to floor. I mean, literally knocked down the ceiling, put up Spanish lace. Okay, trims, floors. We even had to, not like I'm doing the work. No, I paid somebody very nice dollars to do it. I paid a company. They had to come in. They had to sand down the floor so they could put in the luxury linoleum flooring. Which, by the way, it ain't your grandpa's linoleum. It's outstanding. Waterproof for 2 weeks. Luxury linoleum. It is outstanding. Okay. So I had to have that all done. That cost me 15 grand. And people sit there and they go, oh, rent it out. Do you know, somebody could destroy that 15 grand in a matter of 15 minutes, if not less. How long does it take to take a sledgehammer to the walls and do that? Why do I want to deal with that when I can just take the place and sell it and walk away? Right?
Which credit card debt did you run up?
35,000.
Oh,
What would it sell for today?
Jeez.
As it sits.
Talked to a realtor the other day. She said probably around 230.
Sell it. Sell it. Sell it. Sell it. Don't become a landlord again unless you can float total damage. And you don't mind putting all the rental money into the repairs. Look, I know that being a landlord can be very lucrative. Owning properties, yada, yada, yada. Got it. The question becomes, is that a headache you want? Is that a headache you want? Oh, what's his name? Colt. I know this was a year ago. I really hope you sold it. Like I said, the only way I would even think of becoming a landlord, I own the property outright. I have enough money in savings that I could cover, in my opinion, I would want minimum 25% of the property value in case it gets destroyed. All right. And then the other thing people don't consider is all the added costs you have to have when you have a rental. Okay, it's not like you have a rental, you charge them, let's just say, okay, $1,200 a month and you make $1,200 a month. By the time you've added in all the costs of having a second place to keep track of it, under legal protection, you probably need to, retain an attorney. You need to have possibly a property management company. And even if you don't have that, you are maintaining a second residence. By the time you chip you chip away at that monthly rent, what are you all really taking home? A couple of $100? And if you get a really bad tenant, hey, guess what? All the money that you got just goes right back into repairing it, and you made no financial gains at all.
Sell it.
Yeah, you know what? Snaps. Yes. Snaps.
There's nothing in your conversation with me that sounded fun so far.
Dave, you know what? Thank you. Absolutely. No. Being a landlord does not sound fun. Now, I know Dave has rental properties. I believe he does. He's also got $200 million. Trust me, he can afford to have the whole building burned down and build it back up again.
Suck at this real estate thing.
Yes.
Everything you've touched has turned to poop on this, man.
Yes.
Get rid of it.
And
there's nothing here fun.
I've been working in addition to school.
When
in
I
addition to
said
military,
that, you breathed better.
I know.
When I said sell it, you went, thank God.
Hey, and dude, listen.
The one thing about money, you really know if you're headed in the right direction. And the right direction for one person, and the business ventures that they go into may not be the right direction for someone else. But something that I've learned with money is, you know what? I want the easiest path possible to save it. And to make it. I don't want to have to go into a bunch of confrontations with other people. I don't want to have to, sit and bite my nails every night. Did my day trade go good or bad? Okay, some of the things that appear to be quick and easy bucks, it sounds like quick and easy bucks on YouTube. Now, I'm not saying that's where he got it from, but if you watch enough YouTube, all right, and you don't remind yourself that they're probably selling something, advertising, promoting something, okay, rental property can be a real disaster. And again, I know there are people who are very successful at it, and that's wonderful. But I think for the average Joe Blow out there, it's really not. It's not as easy as it seems.
You and I could probably talk for an hour. You and me and Dave could talk for an hour. You got other stuff in your life going on, don't you?
Yes.
Way too much. And you're running 10 years on deployment return and deployment return. And I hear your voice is crackling. You're fried. Is that right?
I really hope he sold this property.
Yep.
You
I am,
have to
especially
get,
after last week.
You've got to get some margin.
Yeah, you get some stuff off your plate.
Even if that means go live on base, go rent.
Yeah, fire yourself from anything you can to make your life simpler.
I really needed to hear that because that's what I told myself when I was driving home. I said, I've got to make my life more simple.
Calm. Like almost boring. You need some boredom.
Go talk to a counselor.
Yeah.
Go.
All right, folks. Speaking of calm, speaking of boring, we are going to enter the calm and boring state of student loan chit-chat. All right, folks. I'm Carrie. This is Student Loan Chit-Chat. I would like to thank you for joining me for this double story episode today. It's time for me to go to bed. For those of you that will listen to this episode while you're at work, stay safe. For those of you that listen to this episode while you are exercising, don't forget to check that heart rate. For those of you that listen to this episode while having toast with your tea, don't forget, save me a slice. Thank you for joining me. I hope you will consider subscribing and you have yourself a terrific Tuesday night. Goodbye.